and each kiss an inspiration. Oh, but that was long ago, and now my consolation is in the stardust of the the nightingale tells its fairy tale of paradise where roses grew. Though I dream in vain, my heart is always with my stardust melody, the memory of as we fade.
Good morning. Good morning and welcome to Bishop's 190th Convocation ceremony. This is an event to honor the accomplishments of all our graduating students. In just a few moments, our graduates will enter, followed by the academic procession. A professional photographer will take each graduate's photo as they are up on stage. Photos will be made available on the university's website in the coming weeks. In order to ensure everyone's safety, we ask that you remain seated in your seats during the ceremony. Finally, as a mark of respect for our graduates and to enable everyone in the gym to enjoy the ceremony, you are asked to silence your cell phones. Thank you. Bonjour et bienvenue à la 190e collation des grades de l'Université Bishops. Ceci est un événement pour célébrer les réalisations de tous nos finissants. Dans quelques minutes, nos diplômés vont entrer, suivis de la procession universitaire. Un photographe professionnel prendra des photos de chaque diplômé. Les photos seront disponibles via le site Internet de l'université dans les prochains jours. Pour assurer la sécurité de tous, nous vous demandons de rester assis à votre place pendant la cérémonie. Par courtoisie envers les diplômés et les autres invités, nous vous demandons de fermer tous les appareils de communication personnelle pendant la cérémonie. Merci et bonne célébration. Bonjour à tous et à chacun. Au nom de l'Université Bishops, bienvenue à tous, parents, familles, amis, futurs doctorats honoris causa et surtout à la promotion 2018. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge our history. Our beautiful Bishops campus is located on traditional territory of the Abenaki First Nation. As we begin the celebration of our graduating students, we, the Bishops community, honor the Abenaki as the traditional stewards of the land on which we meet today. The word convocation, from the Latin convocar, means to call together, to summon. Today's convocation ceremony summons us to a moment of great shared significance. In it, we celebrate the joy of learning, the advancement of knowledge, the transformative bonds of friendship, the power of perseverance, and the deep satisfaction of achievement. Artistic creativity is an integral part of our university, an important means of expressing our humanity. Before the Chancellor formally opens convocation, I invite you to enjoy the artistry of some of our students, led by Professor Fanny Gaudette, Director of our Bishops University Singers. They will perform two songs. First is a recently discovered piece entitled Alma Mater. It was written by Henry Thomas Holden, President of the Bishops' Student Council in 1937. This will be its inaugural performance at a convocation ceremony. The second piece is a piece by Leonard Cohen's Alleluia. It has a special and intense significance for us this year because it was a favorite of Ben Hootman, class of 2018, who died tragically in March.
A secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do you? Well, it goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor falls and the major lifts, the baffled king composing hallelujah, hallelujah. don't even know the name, but if I did, oh really, what's it to you? There's a place of light in every word. Doesn't matter which you heard, the holy or the broken. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah,
I did my best, it wasn't much. I couldn't feel, so I tried to touch. I told the truth and I didn't come to fool you. And even though it all went wrong, I'll stand before the Lord of song with nothing on my tongue but hallelujah, 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 hallelujah,
Welcome to the 2018 graduating class and all your family and friends. I now declare this Convocation of Bishops University to be open. It's customary at these events for the Chancellor to say a few words to convey to the graduating students some advice which at least he believes to be wise. As for words of advice, you're here to graduate and not for the advice, so I'll be brief. Étant donné que c'est votre première expérience d'une collation des grades, vous ne vous rendez pas compte que je vais me répéter un peu dans mes conseils. Mais je vais effectivement me répéter parce que je vais vous donner les mêmes conseils que j'ai donnés à mes enfants quand elles étaient à votre étape. When you completed high school, the pursuit of further education was probably the default option and the only choice that was really open to you. For many, if not most of you, you're now at a stage where there is no default option for what to do next, and the range of choices before you is daunting. You spent 3 or 4 years, and indeed in some cases more than that, lingering on the Massaweppi, acquiring a liberal education, an in-depth knowledge of a particular field of study, and exposure to other academic disciplines. You've had the good fortune to study on a campus where the world literally meets. Half of Bishop's students are from outside Quebec, including 250 international students from more than 50 countries. These experiences will have exposed you to other perspectives, an essential ingredient for success in the 21st century. Your university years will have helped some of you form a clear idea of your life's calling, but I suspect most of you don't yet know what that is. I know I didn't when I was at your stage. While no one can tell you what to do, I can offer some advice about how to think about the question. First, define success. Your bishop's experience will have given you the opportunity to reflect on what success might look like for you. Everyone defines it differently and personally. But here's what's worked for me and the people I know who've been fortunate enough to find success in their work life. Find something to do which you feel passionate about, plays to your strengths, and associates you with colleagues and an organization with whom you share common values. It's impossible to know at this stage exactly what field of endeavor will meet that definition of success, but don't let this uncertainty prevent forward progress. The thing to do is to make the best guess you can, choose from amongst the available choices, and go for it. Your youth is a huge asset because it means that you have a lot of time ahead of you. You can accumulate experience and let it inform your subsequent choices. You can use your youth to advantage by trying things, assessing them against your definition of success, which you can expect to evolve. Some of you will be fortunate enough to find the right fit on your first try. But if you don't, try something else and keep on trying until you do. A couple of real-life illustrations of how this can work in practice. A friend of mine worked at different things after graduating. In her late 20s, she decided, based on that experience, that she wanted to become a medical doctor. This meant going back to school, and she fretted that she'd be much older than her classmates and wouldn't start to practice till she was in her mid-30s. So she eventually realized that she was certain to reach her mid-30s no matter what decision she made, and it'd be better to reach that advanced age able to pursue a career that would give her purpose in life than to not do so because she had a late start. She's had decades of satisfaction from that decision. In my own case, I started out studying engineering, but realized late in the program that it wasn't for me. I finished the degree and went to work in an unrelated field where I had my first opportunity to see what lawyers do. Based on that exposure, I decided that the practice of law would suit me, and indeed it did. However, in the course of my practice, I became interested in business, and when I got the opportunity to go into business with people I respected, I did so. The point of these stories is that the feeling of uncertainty about your life's work that many of you are experiencing is an age-old condition for which there is no silver bullet solution, no once-and-for-all solution. You need to pick a point to steer for, be proactive, and be prepared to make mid-course corrections until you find yourself doing something you feel passionate about with people you like and respect. Our hope is that your time at Bishops has contributed materially to preparing you for this journey, that your discussions and debates with professors and peers have allowed you to reflect on what is important and where satisfaction may lie for you, that the experience of a liberal education in the classroom and, as importantly, outside of it, has given you some of the tools that you will need to assess your progress towards your goals in life and make the adjustments that will inevitably be necessary over a lifetime. Congratulations to all of you and to your family and friends who've supported you, and good luck on the next leg of your journey through life. And now, let us proceed with Convocation.
Mr. Chancellor, faculty members, graduating class of 2018, friends of the university, it's a true privilege to introduce Dr. Margaret McMillan, one of the most distinguished figures in the field of 20th century history. She's the former warden of St. Anthony's College, Oxford, and former provost of Trinity College, Toronto, where she remains a history professor and honorary fellow today. Among her many honors, much too numerous to list in full today, she is a Companion of the Order of Canada, awarded both for her eminent studies of international history and for her many contributions to public debates on history and current affairs. Her best-known book, Paris 1919, has garnered a slew of awards, including a Governor General's Literary Award. But I don't want to introduce her simply with a dry list of her accomplishments and honors, many though they are. I'd like to say a few words about why her work matters so much and remains so relevant and important in this time of rapid and often worrying global change. History is not a dead subject, she writes in her marvelous book, The Uses and Abuses of History. It does not lie there safely in the past. It is wisest to think of history not as a pile of dead leaves or a collection of dusty artifacts, but as a pool, sometimes benign, often sulfurous, which lies under the present, silently shaping our institutions, our ways of thoughts, our likes and dislikes. History, in other words, remains always relevant. We can't understand the world without understanding how we got here and why people made the choices they did. Anyone concerned about rising global tensions would do very well to read her book, The War That Ended Peace, a fascinating story of how the world drifted into the First World War and why the forces for peace did not prove strong enough to avoid a devastating conflict. Anyone wanting a story of how presidents and prime ministers and other diplomats have tried to put a new world system into place would benefit from reading Paris 1919, whose themes are even more clearly shown by the title of the book's British edition, simply Peacemakers. And the same themes shine through in her book Nixon in China, about how an American president risked criticism to make peace with Mao Zedong's communist China. A very relevant story indeed as the world hopes for peace and not nuclear conflict over the Korean Peninsula. These aren't new subjects, but in each case, Dr. Macmillan sheds new light on them and offers accessible, insightful interpretations. She asks smart questions and avoids obvious answers. She brings historical actors to life while always being aware of the larger forces operating in the background to constrain their options. She is a model for academic work that tackles crucial issues of the human past and illustrates how they matter for the present. Mr. Chancellor, I present to you for the degree of Doctor of Civil Law, honoris causa, an eminent historian who has brought honor to her discipline, to the Academy, and to Canada, Dr. Margaret Macmillan.
Domine spectatissime auctoritate mihi commissa admitto te ad gradum doctoris in juris civili in nostra universitate honoris causa. By the power vested in me, I admit you to the degree of Doctor of Civil Laws honoris causa. And thank you. You can speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this great honor. Mr. Chancellor, Mr. Principal, my fellow honorary degree recipients, Alexander Redford, ladies and gentlemen, and students. Of course, you're ladies and gentlemen as well, but you're very special today, so I wanted to greet you specially. It's a great pleasure to be here and to learn something of the very warm and friendly community you have here. And for me, it's a great pleasure to get an honorary degree because I didn't have to work for it. You've been working very hard, and yours have come much harder, so congratulations on that. I think education, which I've spent my life in, is extremely important. And I think you're lucky to have been in a small institution where you've learnt to live in a community, which is a very valuable lesson for the rest of your lives. And of course, you've learned from your teachers, but you've also learned from each other. I sometimes think students learn as much from each other as they do from any of us, because you're testing ideas with each other, you're exchanging ideas, you're arguing with each other, and that's part of you discovering what you believe in and what you think is important in life. Now, people at convocations often give advice, and I know that whatever I say you won't remember at all. When I went to my graduation at the University of Toronto, I don't remember a thing that was said. I just remember thinking, when can I have lunch? When can I go and enjoy this day? I don't remember who got the honorary degrees. I looked it up the other day, and I was quite amazed. There was a very distinguished philosopher and a wonderful musician. It went over my head completely. And so if I give you advice today, you won't listen, and you're quite right not to. But what I'm going to do is just give you some wishes for your future lives. And the Chancellor has already done something of that, and I'm going to add to it. I think you will find that you will be happiest if your learning never stops. There is always something more to learn. There is always something you need to find out about. And I think that is important. Education is not just something that happens in the classroom. Education is something that goes on. And so I wish that you will have a curiosity which never leaves you, and you'll find other things in life. You've done certain subjects here, you're going to discover new subjects, and you're going to find you're absolutely fascinated by them. And you're going to discover causes, you're going to discover enthusiasms, and I would urge you never to become discouraged. Life does have its setbacks. They can be overcome. I was unpacking some files the other day, and I found a whole rather thick file of rejection letters I got for my first big book, which was called Paris 1919. And one of them, I think I'm going to have it framed, is from an American university press, from Harvard actually, and they said, we are a press that can't afford to take chances. And this I thought was not very truthful. Harvard is the richest university in the world, and I thought they can actually take a few chances. And they said, for us, publishing a book of very limited interest, which will only sell a few copies, is just not an option. And that letter I treasure, because someone else published the book, and it did sell quite a few copies. I don't want to be unkind and remind Harvard of this, but I think I'm tempted. The second hope I have for you is that you do have at least one thing you are really passionate about, that you will sort of put other things aside for, you'll sit up all night reading books about. And I'm lucky because my passion has been history and remains history. I think I discovered that early on, not necessarily for the best of motives. I think you'll find that many historians are great gossips. We love inquiring into people's personal affairs. We love inquiring into their innermost thoughts. As an historian, you can do things which I advise you not to do in ordinary life, and that is read other people's letters and diaries and speculate about their personal lives. Be careful. It doesn't do well in your ordinary lives, but it is something you can do as an historian. And I do think history is important. You are all products of your histories, and that history, of course, includes bishops, it includes your families, it includes the circles in which you've moved, and you will go on developing as your own personal histories change. I think that's important. You understand yourselves better if you know where you've come from and where you might be going, and you understand others better. I think history is enormously important in understanding other people. You cannot understand the other peoples with whom you'll come into contact with unless you know something of their history. You can't understand the sometimes complicated but often cordial relations between the English and French speakers in this country without knowing something of the histories that each have had. And that is important, because unless we understand each other, I think we don't have much hope of dealing with each other and talking to each other and trying to accommodate each other and trying to come to terms with each other. I think we don't understand many of the conflicts in the world, such as the one which goes on, the ones that go on and on in the Middle East, without understanding the histories of those peoples and what it is they're remembering. Because, as I say, we are shaped by what we remember. And I think what history also does, and of course other subjects do this as well, is it helps us to ask questions. And if you can't ask good questions, then you don't have any hope of finding out what the answers are. And so history will help you to make comparisons. If you have someone in charge of a country who is rather erratic and emotional and self-centered, I'm talking about Wilhelm II of Germany before the First World War, you can have a troubled world. And I think it is formulating questions, I think, that is important, and perhaps is more important than ever today. It's not an easy time we're living in, but I don't suppose most times have ever been easy. We worry about our own problems, but I think of the problems that my parents' generation faced in the 1930s and with the Second World War, and I think it helps to put it into proportion, and putting things into proportion is always important. So I'm not going to tell you any more about history, and I'm not going to give you any more advice, but I do have a final wish for you all, probably the most important one today. Go and celebrate. Have a wonderful day. You have certainly earned it. Many congratulations.
Mr. Chancellor, faculty members, graduates of 2018, and friends of the university, it is my great pleasure to introduce Alexander Rieford, Director of Les Jardins de Métis, the Rieford Gardens, and co-founder of the Métis International Garden Festival. Gardens today are often seen as peaceful retreats from the pressures of a daily life. The International Garden Festival at Matisse asks us to look at gardens through a different lens, not as retreats, but as attacks on the conventional, the familiar, and the ordinary. Creating the festival was an act of daring. And in doing this, Mr. Rieford was following in the footsteps of his great-grandmother, Elsie Rieford. She defied convention by shaping a spruce forest into a garden that boasted one of the largest collection of plants of the day. Hundreds of miles from the nearest nursery, and farther north than any other garden in eastern North America, Elsie Rieford's garden seemed an impossibility. But with her "why not try" spirit, the impossible became real. In 1995, when Mr. Rieford became head of the nonprofit organization that purchased Elsie's garden from the government of Quebec, he faced perils similar to those faced by his great-grandmother, and like her, he succeeded magnificently. The International Garden Festival, now in its 20th edition, is one of only 4 in the world. Where are the others? Well, on the grounds of a chateau in the Loire Valley, in California's wine country, and in the heart of London. A tiny village in rural Quebec competing with these world centers? It's crazy. Yet today, the festival is recognized as one of the premier garden design events in the world, thanks to Mr. Rieford's leadership. He's an innovator and a creative thinker, able to galvanize his troops with a rare generosity of spirit. Elsie's historic gardens still offer a window into the past, and a beautiful view that window affords. Since it opened to the public in 1992, over 5 million people have visited the garden, and the economic impact on a town with fewer than 200 people is enormous, some $20 million annually. The festival offers something more, a chance for both emerging and experienced designers to create gardens that provoke thought and discussion. What is a garden, and what can it be? Can the ideas generated in these creative experiments offer insight into contemporary issues like climate change, recycling, forest management, and genetically modified plants? Can they help us change our relationship with nature itself? An historian with degrees from University of Toronto and Oxford University, Mr. Rieford has written numerous books and articles about the history of the Rieford Gardens and their horticultural treasures. Under his stewardship, the garden and historic buildings on the property have been completely restored, and an ecological park on the banks of the Matisse River has become a leader in nature conservation. As the driving force behind the International Garden Festival, Mr. Rieford is gently eroding stereotypical views of gardens and garden design. He's opening eyes to the possibility that gardens can be more than beautiful retreats, that they can present new ways for us to see, understand, and engage with our environment. Mr. Chancellor, I present to you for the degree of Doctor of Civil Law, honoris causa, a visionary of the garden world, an ecologist and historian, Mr. Alexander Rieford.
Domine spectatissime auctoritate mihi commissa, admitto te ad gradum doctoris in juris civili in nostra universitate honoris causa. By the power vested in me, I admit you to the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa. Congratulations. Michael's going to put the hood on. There we go. Good, you're at the podium.
Chancellor Levitt, President Goldblum, members of the board, faculty and staff of Bishops, family and friends of the graduating students, I wish to thank you for the honor to join you on this, your very special day. To the students assembled here today, to the class of 2018, I salute and congratulate you for your achievement. You have reached the end of a long marathon. Savor the moment, enjoy the rush, relax and recuperate. To the parents, enjoy the rush, savor the moment. You too have earned a degree. But your relaxation and time for recuperation are now over. Whether you know it or not, your child is coming home. I'm especially grateful to Bishops for this Doctor of Civil Law honoris causa. I began my doctorate exactly 30 years ago this June. I abandoned it midway, so this honor is particularly meaningful for me. It closes a gaping wound left undressed and provides me with a sense of an ending long hoped for. Gardening is a passion, and it is one that I share with Patterson Webster, whose introductory words so beautifully set the stage for what I'm about to say. I'm very grateful to Bishops for having put gardens on the podium. Pat Webster is an unusually articulate gardener. Gardeners are usually better at doing than speaking. They spend more time with trowels than keyboards. I often give addresses to audiences in Quebec and further afield, addressing garden clubs and historical societies and museums, civic centers and church basements. My audiences are usually composed of enthusiastic women gardeners and their very recalcitrant husbands. The cultivated, the curious, the educated traveler. They are the core audience for gardens and for most museums across this country. I use beautiful slides in my garden to wondrous effect, what my friend and mentor Frank Cabot once described as horticultural pornography. I have no such pornography to show you today, so feel a bit naked standing with only words as my tools. Were I not here with you this morning on this beautiful campus, I would be at work in the little shoreline hamlet of Grand-Métis in the lower St. Lawrence region of Quebec, welcoming visitors to Les Jardins Métis. Today is opening day at Reeford Gardens, the 24th opening day for me, the first pitch of my season. I have dedicated my career and more to the management of this National Historic Site, one honoring the unique passion for plants and horticultural achievements of my great-grandmother, Elsie Reeford. But I've chosen a very atypical life, so drawing from my own experiences to offer some life lessons that might be meaningful to you has been a challenge. I began my working career aspiring to what Margaret McMillan so perfectly represents, historian, author, college president on 2 different continents at 2 great universities. I have failed in every one of those aspirations. Instead, I left academia with the 3 initials of shame that dog many graduate students, ABD, all but dissertation. 10 years into my academic life, I chose to become a cultural entrepreneur. I left my position at St. Michael's College at the University of Toronto, packed my life into my aging Volvo, and drove the 1,200 kilometers to a very different part of the world to make a very different life for myself. I felt called by history to refashion a historic property, to give it shape, to reinvigorate it, endow it with resilience, and make it relevant. Writing history seemed less interesting than saving it. If history was my calling, the gardens offered me an audience. At the same time, I wanted to reach you, not just the graying population of garden enthusiasts. Younger folks, travelers seduced by the world and its attractions, the cohort of the curious for whom gardens are uninteresting, maybe even a tad boring. Perched on the banks of the St. Lawrence River in a village with a population of just 167, almost entirely French-speaking, few places in this country could have provided a greater contrast with the academic hustle and bustle in the heart of Toronto and the neighborhood of Bay and Bloor where I lived. No libraries, no latte. I created my own campus. I had the buildings, the grounds, and the gardens already, but what inspired me by the university environment and what I expect have inspired you in the years that you have called Bishops your home, is the opportunity to be creative, the time to be imaginative, the freedom to explore. History can be a prison, and historic sites are often built like prisons. High walls and big gates, security systems and security guards. My great-grandmother's estate once had such welcoming signs as private property, no trespassing, danger, keep out. The dogs were benign, so there were no beware of dog signs, but metaphorically, none were needed. The symbolism was clear. Historic sites and legacy museums architecturally transmit the message that we are a step up. Removed, elitist, inaccessible, keep your distance, hands off, don't touch. At the same time, we are fighting for relevance. It takes a special historian like Margaret Macmillan to make history come alive, and it takes special imagination to make a historic site relevant to those who do not share the same interests, the many for whom the historical figures have no resonance, the dates no significance. The past is a foreign country, and getting people to travel there is a challenge. A wonderful challenge, but a real challenge nonetheless. My défi seemed clear. It took me a while to find my voice, but I eventually set out to make the gardens into a campus for creative people. It began with a few modest initiatives, a guest lecturer here, an artist in residence there, temporary exhibitions in the historic house. I reached out to the Université de Montréal and we hosted a summer school for landscape and garden design for 5 years. A program for local schools followed. We populated our site with magnificent sculptures, affirming the passage from past to present. Art everywhere is what we call it, and it nicely encapsulates our commitment to change. Then we launched the International Garden Festival, a one-time only event to mark the millennium in the year 2000. In every edition since, it has become an annual rendezvous for young designers from around the world to experiment, to innovate, to build. A team of 10 workers are building new installations as I speak. Every year for nearly 2 decades, we welcome as many as 50 creative people, young professionals in the fields of architecture, landscape architecture, visual arts, and other design fields, many working in Canada for the very first time. They come for a week or 10 days, the culmination of 6 months of energy dedicated to the creation of their project, submitted to our annual international competition. Their work, their energy, their genius has transformed our garden. Our pastoral paradise and contemplative cloister become one giant hive of activity, buzzing with machinery in a frenzied rush to ready for our opening day in June, our graduation. Initially, these contemporary garden installations were not much appreciated. Too clever by half, too conceptual, too colorful. What, no plants? But over time, our festival and a handful of other similar events have contributed to the creation of an entirely new field of artistic expression, dubbed conceptualist gardens. They are about as far from the flower beds of Elsie Reeford's epoch as can be imagined, but they are interactive, alive, vibrant, and inviting. Please walk on the grass. You are encouraged to trespass. It is forbidden to forbid. It is what artists do best, and we proudly allow them to break the mold and create projects that their roster of clients would typically not initiate or support. The garden installations have altered the visitor experience. They've also changed the composition of our visitors as well. Those who once drove by at high speed, mountain bike or paddleboard on the roof of their car now stop and spend a few hours. They come back with their kids. They have become our word of mouth, our alumni. I used to wonder what my great-grandmother would have thought of all this, and historians' respect for the past has given me that burden, that additional weight. The founder of our gardens had a special genius, but like many of her generation, privileged and cosseted, she disapproved of most forms of change. Institutions evolve, and they must. The world moves on. I don't imagine President Goldblum loses much sleep thinking of what Bishop Mountain would say of what this university has become since it began. There's no question that our founders are spinning in their graves. Our mandate is simply to moderate the speed at which they are spinning. Change is essential. Change is good. Disruptive change is the courageous way forward. Through our festival, we offer a creative space by offering a moment away from professional preoccupations, a far distant place where internet service is poor, food is served at a common table, where each group is working on their own project, but as a collective effort for a community of visitors. We have set the kindling for creativity, a campus of particular intensity. It is a special gift. I have seen connections made, careers transformed, relationships solidified, practices develop. We have turned a quiet, private paradise into a campus for innovation, a venue for creativity, a public garden with art at its core, a community infrastructure that confronts and offers a whole whack of color and lots of fun. As your life advances, I encourage you to keep in mind the value of finding your community for expression. Find your creative space. I don't mean a room in the basement or a shed in the backyard. A creative space is not a cabin in the woods. It is not about fleeing the world, finding your own Walden Pond. It's about engaging. It's about confronting and doing so with others. It's about community and using your special talents to work with the community, in the community, and for the community. Your lives are about to get very busy in a different way from the essay deadlines and approaching examinations that have been your routine for the past years. Busy in the way that life is, friendships to nurture, student loans to be repaid, money to make, careers to be forged, places to explore, weddings to be organized. Well, maybe you can wait a while for that. Find moments in your life to abandon the crushing weight of everyday preoccupations. We all need occasions to drive the creative processes. Find your creative space. Seek it out. Make it part of your workplace environment, or even better, create your own. If you do, perhaps in 30 years' time, it'll be you on this podium, celebrating with a graduating class of 2048 for having transformed your community through creators and creativity. Thank you.
We will now proceed with the conferring of degrees and certificates. Each student will be introduced by their respective dean. They will then be hooded by the registrar and the dean of students, and then congratulated by the chancellor and the principal. Will the members of the graduating class who are to receive the degree of Bachelor of Arts please stand? Mr. Chancellor and all members of the university, with the unanimous approval of the Convocation, I present to you these candidates in order that they may be granted the degree of Bachelor of Arts.
By the power vested in me, I admit you to the degree of Bachelor of Arts in our university, together with its responsibilities, rights, and privileges.
Émilie Auger. Tegan Belrose, the Malcolm and Evelyn Doak Prize in History. Rebecca Blackburn. Natalie Demon, with distinction. Rosalie Dowling. Brenna Fillion, the University Prize in Religion. Morgan Gagnon, with distinction, the University Prize in Liberal Arts. Emily Hackett, with distinction. Erin Helsby, with distinction, the University Prize in Philosophy. Eddie Huband. Gabrielle Lesage, with distinction, the Mackey Prize in English. Guillaume Lirette Gelinas, the St. Mark's Chapel Prize. Bradley McDermott, with distinction, the University Prize in English. Emma McRegan, with distinction, the David Rittenhouse Prize in Drama. Catherine Musliam, with distinction, Glenn Wickens Prize in Film Studies. Charlotte Peters, with distinction. Jessica Ryder. Chanel Rioux, with distinction, the Douglas Albert Taylor Lloyd Memorial Prize in Philosophy, the George Engelbretson Prize in Philosophy. Ryan Wickware, with distinction. Antoine Eroli. Annie-Paul Bessamard, with distinction. Rudiger Burgess. That's pretty good. Alexandre Bégin. Angélique Bielski-Mongeau, with distinction. Shannon Brock, with distinction. Leah Bureau. Shanna Calloway, with distinction. Alexandre Cataneo, with distinction, the University Prize in Music. Elizabeth Cochin. Annie Crawford, with distinction, the Ambassador of Switzerland's Prize in German. Samuel Domon. Scott Draper. Sylvia Duarte. Grace Edney, with distinction. Florence Olivia Jeunesse, with distinction. Nathalie Hostetler with distinction. Bridget Jarvis. Lillian Cobelt. Jade Lebrec. Marie-Rose Labrie with distinction. Naran Laflamme with distinction. Marie-Christine Landry with distinction, the University Prize in Arts Administration. Guillaume Leclerc Marceau, the Lieutenant Roddy Lemieux Prize in French. Emily Liatzis. Joseph Magnolo with distinction. Maralise Marchizotti with distinction, the University Prize in Classical Studies. Aubrey Martin. Bianca Martin. Marian Neser Carazo. Eline Parisnard with distinction. Samantha Poley. Victoria Rodriguez Carnival. Cassandra Ryan. Iskandara Lauren Sadek. Maya Saran. Elie Simard Wayot with distinction, the University Prize in Modern Languages. Phyllis Size with distinction. Karina Juliana Sorels. Chloe Susi with distinction. Noel Stengel. Dylan Troll. Louise Vallière. Yimeng Wang. Charles Williams. Fergus Wright. Ignès Andrieux, le Provost Direct, Andrew F. Johnson Prize in International Political Economy. Pierre Bowman Croisière. David Bélanger. Peyton Burnett with distinction, the Dr. Shannon Gadbois Prize for Excellence in Psychological Research. Nicole Bullock with distinction. Carrie-Anne Bouillon with distinction. Mélanie Brémont with distinction. Krista Daly with distinction. Karina Di Tommaso with distinction. Caroline Dufour with distinction. Catherine Fournier with distinction. Stéphanie Fournier with distinction. Ninon Frédéric with distinction, the University Prize in Politics and International Studies. Fille Gagné Rochefort. Ahisha Jones-Levalet with distinction. Stéphanie Lebrec with distinction. Hannah McClellan. Nisha Mohan with distinction, the Dr. Shannon Gadbois Prize for Excellence in Psychological Research. Lauren Nellis with distinction, the Canadian Association of Geographers Prize, the Undergraduate Prize in Environmental Studies and Geography, the University Prize in Sociology. Hannah O'Reilly with distinction. Brett Patrick. Andrew Paul with distinction.
Thank you so much.
Aidan Peck. Ashley Potter Powell with distinction. André Prichard with distinction. Melanie Silve Ramirez with distinction. Michelle Slawich. Darcy Springate Flock. Abigail Van Zura with distinction, the Professor T.W.L. McDermott Memorial Prize in Political Studies. Alexandra Vargas Villami with distinction. Mackenzie Viznina with distinction, the Gerald Theodore Rayner Prize in Political Studies. Peter Weston with distinction. Janan Williams with distinction. Daniel Yagua Rospigliosi. Daniela Aguinaga with distinction. Madison Angus. Fanny Berret. Cameron Bateman. Sanduni Bazotunga. Melody Beauchemin. Virginie Bédard with distinction. Rebecca Ben-Simon. Laurence Bergeron. Joy Celine Bermilo. Olivier Bigirimana. Sawyer Brock. Brandy Buttle. Miriam Kader. Michael Carmel with distinction. Jody Clark. Sarah Clemas with distinction. Darian Crawford. Ryan David. Melina Derop with distinction. Jonathan Deblois Fauchon. Camille Desmers. Isabelle Desmers. Vincent Dubé. Virginie Dupuis-Gaudreau. Alexandra Ethier with distinction. Michaela Flipson. Andrea Furlong. Janae Grayer. George Habib. André Anne Hachet. Noémie Amel Petit with distinction. James Hanuman Singh. William Hébert Vandramini with distinction. Alexandre Eon. Jasmine Eon. Mary Grace Herring with distinction. Madeline Hession. Brian Hui. Valérie Huot. Audrey Ianicello. Arthi Erica Jamohan. Matthew Jones. Nikola Jovicic. Jessica Kraus. Gabrielle Laforêt. Marie-Lie Lafrenière. Amanda Lalonde Thomas. Brianna Lama. Olivier Langevin. Danielle Lapierre. Trevor Laurie. Juliette Laurier. Scott Lawson. Manuel Lepage-Lévesque, Prize for Excellence in Economic Research. Willis Chun Carlettre. David Leroux. Caitlin Loomis. Fan Ma. Alexa McDonald with distinction. Caitlin Maloney. Megan Marquet. Alex Marcourier with distinction. Gary-Luc Martin. Alexandra McAfee. Christelle Messier. Fiona Milligan. Étienne Morin. Rebecca Morris. Christopher Murray. Long Tim Nixon. Abran Marcel Inez Nijiki with distinction. Ariane Paget. Alicia Parot with distinction. Noah Peterson. Amanda Pierlet. Sarah Poirier. Thais Pouvessel. Adam Rand. Carrie Rankin. Lorraine Renome. Spencer Richmond. Danica Robertson. Javier Roca. Bradley Sabarin. Renee Sadler. Émilie Saint-Cyr. Bruno Uriel Salita with distinction. Charles Schubert. Jacob Schwenger. Jesse Sebag Weingart. Antonin Sebin with distinction. Phil Sedgwick. Yunkai Shen. Madeleine Sinclair. Stone Sousa with distinction, the University Prize in Sports Studies. Brock Spencer. Will Stokes. Taylor Straw. Elizabeth Terrien. Catherine Treherne. Laura Underhill. Alexis Vachon. Matthew Van Doorn. Lara Vinson. Michaela Whittle. Claudia Williams. Adam Yates. Han Yu. Pengchuanzi Zhang with distinction.
Will the members of the graduating class who are to receive the degree of Bachelor of Science please stand? And Mr. Chancellor and all members of the university, with the unanimous approval of this convocation, I present to you these men and these women in order that they may be granted the degree of Bachelor of Science.
By the power vested in me, I admit you to the degree of Bachelor of Science in our university, together with its responsibilities, rights, and privileges.
Briar Bennett Flamer with distinction, the Mackey Prize in Classical Studies. Cassandra Goldfarb with distinction. Catherine Theriot. Ashley Baker.
Thank you so much. Aoife.
Aoife Cummings. Jenny DeMacos with distinction.
Thank you very much.
Frédéric Gauthier Bissayon. Gayatri Mutia with distinction. Gabriela Ortuzo. Ralucha Maria Patria Palmario with distinction. The Chief Justice Greenshield's Prize, the Honorable G. Howard Ferguson Cup, and the University Prize in Psychology. Toshrina Ameka Ramsagur with distinction.
Thank you so much.
Katie Selina Sandoval.
Will the students who are to receive a certificate a certificate of completion for a micro-program, or a graduate certificate, please stand. Mr. Chancellor and all members of the University, with the unanimous approval of the Convocation, I present to you these candidates in order that they may receive their certificates.
By the power vested in me, I award you this certificate, together with its responsibilities, rights, and privileges.
Rosalie Cloître-Trudeau. Jessica Côté. Cassandra Morin-Chagnon. Jacques Arpin. Agatha Veal. Catherine Vienne. Inès Andrieux Le Provost Diré. Andrew F. Johnson Prize in International Political Economy. André Anne Haché. Phil Sedgwick.
I now invite Andre Pritchard of the class of 2018 to present the winner of the William and Nancy Turner Award for Teaching, and call upon Dr. Sarah Myriam Martin-Brûlé to come forward and stand next to the Chancellor.
Mr. Chancellor, Mr. Principal, faculty members, graduates of the class of 2018, family, and friends. It is truly an honor to speak in front of such a distinguished group of graduates. We gather at Convocation to celebrate the academic achievements of the graduating class, but it is also important to celebrate the professors who have guided, supported, and pushed us so that we could be here today. The William and Nancy Turner Teaching Award recognizes a faculty member who has demonstrated exceptional educational leadership and commitment towards her students' success. This year, the award is given to Dr. Sarah Myriam Martin-Brûlé, who has gone above and beyond to ensure that her students succeed not only in the classroom, but in the professional setting as well. Through her courses and commitment to ensuring her students receive professional work experience outside the classroom, Dr. Martin-Brûlé blends the practical with the theoretical to ensure a well-rounded education that her students are prepared to enter the workforce or pursue higher education. One course which perfectly exemplifies this is Strategic Issues of War and Peace, wherein students jointly participate in an online simulation requiring them to represent imaginary states to better understand the complex relations among sovereign nations within the broader context of international relations, thereby allowing them to apply the theories that they study in a real-world setting. But her accomplishments do not end there, far from it. Dr. Martin Brûlé also taught the Model United Nations practicum, using her professional knowledge as a consultant for the United Nations Operations and Crisis Center, as well as her decade-long research to give students an in-depth understanding of the structural and procedural elements of the United Nations, which is crucial to an understanding of modern international relations and politics. Last, but certainly not least, Dr. Martin Brûlé has always strived to ensure her students always receive proper professional experience during their undergraduate, truly showcasing the best Bishops has to offer to its students. From organizing conferences, including the first inter-university conference on international peace and security at the undergraduate level, to attending networking events, to taking positions as research assistants, Dr. Martin Brûlé has managed to seamlessly integrate her students into the professional world and has always fought to ensure her students receive proper recognition for the work they produce, and has never shied to brag of her students' accomplishments to her colleagues. As such, due to her clear and continued commitment to her students' success, it is my great honor to recognize Dr. Sarah Myriam Martin Brûlé as this year's recipient of the William and Nancy Turner Teaching Award.
Like you told me last night, no doubt this is very well merited. Here you go.
I now invite Dr. Heather Lawford of the Psychology Department to present the winner of the Research and Creativity Award, and invite, appropriately, Dr. Leo Standing to stand next to the Chancellor.
Mr. Chancellor, Mr. Principal, faculty members, graduates of Class 2018, friends and family of the University. Recti cultus pectora roborant. Sound learning strengthens the spirit, a motto we proudly champion at Bishops. As professors, we strive to provide our students with experiences of sound learning inside and outside the classroom. But we are not only teachers, we are scholars. In other words, as professors, we are lifelong learners through teaching as well as through research. Dr. Leo Standing is a shining example of a scholar. Today we bestow on him the Research and Creativity Award. Since arriving at Bishops in 1969, Dr. Standing has made significant contributions to research here at Bishops, as well as to the fields of experimental psychology, scholarship of teaching and learning, and most recently, the replicability crisis in psychology. Dr. Standing has authored and co-authored over 100 publications covering different areas of psychology such as perception, cognition, memory, and social psychology. In line with our mission of providing a liberal education, his collaborators have not only included psychologists, but have crossed disciplinary borders to include experts in economics and computer science. He was the keynote speaker at a 2015 interdisciplinary conference in Portugal, where he analyzed Quebec student protests over tuition fees. Going back in time, his early work on understanding the basic processes of memory for pictures is still being cited today. This is because his approach to research never sacrificed excellence in design. His work is a model of sound learning through best practices. Speaking of best practice, replicating scientific findings is essential to good science. Unfortunately, it is something that psychology as a discipline has overlooked for far too long. This is a crisis that Dr. Standing has faced head-on, and he includes our undergraduates in this mission. In addressing the reproducibility crisis, Leo identified experiential learning as a resource to address the problem. Students in his Advanced Research Methods class become collaborators. Together, they replicate key experiments and share the results with the larger scientific community. In fact, Dr. Standing and his students have published their findings in open access online sites devoted to replication, contributing to a discipline-wide conversation. Furthermore, he published his classroom technique for replication so that other psychology departments might adopt this innovation, thereby sharing his expertise in the field of scholarship of teaching and learning. Leo's clear, crisp prose also serves as a fine model for students to follow. Dr. Standing's research impact extends far beyond number and breadth of publications and citations. Perhaps Dr. Standing's most notable contribution to the field of psychology is the training of future generation of researchers. It is remarkable to note that most of his peer-reviewed publications represent collaboration with undergraduate students. Leo shares his high standards for research excellence with his mentees, and to their credit, many of them rise to the challenge. One of the more notable examples of this is former student and Canada Research Chair, Dr. Stephen Kinane, who is a well-known scholar in current evolutionary theory. Point of fact, if you have ever ordered fish in a restaurant with a mind to increase your omega-3 and improve brain function, you have been influenced by Bishop's alum and Professor Standing mentee, Dr. Stephen Kinane. In sum, Leo has pursued the highest bar of sound learning through his commitment to research and excellent design, his contributions to the replicability crisis, and the scholarship of teaching and learning. His work raises the reputation of Bishop's University and provides an exemplary model of the possibilities for valuable contributions through undergraduate collaborations. Mr. Chancellor, I present to you Dr. Leo Standing that he be awarded the 2018 Bishop's University Research and Creativity Award.
I now invite one of this year's valedictorians, Raluca Petria, to address Convocation.
Chers collègues, je suis honorée d'avoir le privilège de m'adresser à vous lors de notre mise au diplôme qui marque la fin d'une très belle série d'années passées à Bishop. Avant de commencer, j'aimerais profiter de ce moment pour souhaiter la bienvenue à notre éminente faculté, à nos invités d'honneur, à nos familles et à nos chers amis. Welcome. Let me introduce myself. My name is Raluca Petria, and I graduated today with a Bachelor of Neuroscience. Some of you may know me as Snow White from the New Plays Festival, some as a cheerleader, some from the Psychology Club, or other networking events at Bishop's. 3 years ago, when I first passed through the arches, I imagined with anticipation what my next few years at Bishop's would be like. Who would I meet? What would I learn? And who would I become? I remember first arriving at Patterson, where I enthusiastically started to present myself to my roommates, unaware that I hadn't finished checking in, until one of my roommates stared at me and said, Raluca, there's an RA waiting next to your door. While I thought my first encounter with my roommates was doomed to be awkward, which for me was, their first impression of me was that I was outgoing and someone they could easily connect with. That is to say, when you stay positive and try your best, even when you're a bit unsure of how things are going to turn out, what people will see is a genuine person. Of course, at that time, the idea of graduating seemed distant. And now, after breaking our sacred vow to never graduate, I cannot help but need a second to just take it all in. We made it. Yes! And this powerful statement resonates in our hearts as it evokes feelings of warmth, joy, gratefulness, and yes, even a bit of fear. I must admit, I, as I'm sure many of you are as well, am afraid of the uncertainty that lies ahead. But fear is not always a bad thing. It drives us to overcome our insecurities, and it surely hasn't stopped us so far. Be it going to graduate school, starting work, or moving away, let's take our first steps with confidence, knowing that we have the tools needed to succeed. If someone were to ask me what bishops meant to me, my answer would be as follows. Bishops is hard to explain with just one word. Each one of us chose this place for a very special reason, and sometimes I come to find it is the place that chooses you. When I'm asked how I first came to know about bishops, I always reply it is because when I was walking amongst those university stands, and I was wearing purple that day, I found a smile on the bishop's representative's face, who laughed and said to me, "Here is where you belong." Bishops is a place where you have dinner at the principal's house, where you can have a class with only one other student, and where we can actually see our professors in class without having to squint our eyes. It is a place where we walk around comfortably in our fluffy onesie, where we make giant rings in the quad during winter, a place where you cannot attend an event without recognizing at least one other person, and where an alumnus comes back and says, "You can all call me to grab a coffee if you're ever in my city," or takes a giant selfie with us during grad send-off. Here, you're known as my tutor, my research assistant, someone who helped me get through a tough time, the student who dominated at trivia last night, a great team player, and much more. I've met some of my closest friends by taking a carpool with the same person twice, inviting someone who had joined our bowling team for drinks later, or participating in a study. I've learned stats using 3 types of candy, was one of Dr. Tracy's only 2 students in Latin 203, and played Jeopardy! Animal Fizz style. My favorite memory about bishops isn't even at bishops. I was at a festival in Montreal a few years ago, and our group started singing at the top of our lungs, "Be what?" And then, a few seconds later, we heard from a mile away a roaring, "Be you." And before we even knew it, there was a crowd of us just singing our school song. And that's how you make friends, bishop style. Most of us spend our last 3 or more years at bishops. It is a place we call home, and in which we put our trust to receive a sound education and lifelong values. What makes bishops so special is the effort we put into making this a magical place, not only for ourselves, but also new-coming Gators. Every one of us makes the bishop's experience, and without you, there would be no BU. What differentiates us is our sense of community, our unparalleled school spirit, and how we encourage diversity. I am proud to know many students amongst this graduating class who have striven to make bishops an inclusive place for all, and who dedicated themselves to making our community flourish. Let's take a moment to thank those without whom we would not have made it this far. Let us thank our families who have stood by us during all those years in moments where nothing seemed to go right, no matter how demanding or difficult we became. Thank you, Mom and Dad. Yes. Let us thank our friends for crying with us and for laughing with us. Let us thank our wonderful educators who helped us develop critical thinking and who are charged with the most important task of shaping our minds. Such an important job that I cannot thank them enough. Thank you for devoting your time to us, for becoming our mentors and our guides. Let us thank our outstanding principal and the members of the bishop staff who have worked hard to offer us the resources needed to thrive. And finally, let us thank ourselves for believing in ourselves, for striving to achieve our goals, for not putting ourselves down for our failures, for not giving up, and for making it past those long, steady hours. More often than not, we forget to acknowledge that we are strong individuals. Let us congratulate and love ourselves for reaching this important milestone, for all the hard work, and for our dedication to our futures, to others, and to the Bishop's experience. To you, the class of 2018, I would like to dedicate this Albert Einstein quote. Education is what remains after one has forgotten what one has learned in school. It is not merely remembering our formulas, the laws we learned during late-night caffeine-driven study sessions, or the important theories we discussed one Monday afternoon in class. Education molds us into the human beings we are today. As we lead bishops, we have not only received a diploma, we have received an education. What defines us is not a degree, but what we choose to do with our knowledge and how we treat one another. We left our mark on bishops, and in turn, bishops became a fundamental part of us. We will take our experiences and fond memories created all those years, the talks we attended, the wine and cheeses, the raft rides down the Massawibia River, or the nights spent dancing at our one and only gate. And we will remember what we've learned, remember whom we've met, and what we have accomplished. And it will bring us a sense of confidence while we build on the path we have started to pave. Where you choose to go from here is entirely up to you. So I urge you to pursue your passion, never settle for less than your biggest dreams, and to take advantage of the precious support network that you have created. We do not leave BU, we leave our home, knowing that we will never be strangers. Let's expand the BU bubble outside of Lennoxville. What we have accomplished so far in our purple community is a testament to what we can achieve on a much wider scale when we pursue knowledge, seek change, and never underestimate the importance of working together. Wherever your path may take you, I hope you take your next steps with a positive outlook and a sense of fulfillment. This is our moment, a moment of great pride. So let's, for one last time, raise a toast to our beautiful school, to the loving memories we have made, and to the Bishop's experience. Congrats, class of 2018.
So this is the part of our ceremony when we recognize the highest achievements of our graduating students. The Joan and Alex Patterson Award was established by our Chancellor Emeritus Alex Patterson and his wife Joan, both of whom are with us today. The prize is given to a graduating student who has contributed the most to volunteer work and activities in the off-campus community. It will be presented by our Chancellor Emeritus Alex Patterson. And this year's award winner is Alicia Jones-Lavallée. Alex, here. Bravo. Thank you. The Golden Mitre Awards are given in recognition of outstanding service to the student body. The awards will be presented by Mr. Robert Hall, Chair of our Board of Governors, and the following students were elected to the Golden Mitre Honor Society by the graduating class: Morgan Gagnon, Florence Olivier Genez, Danica Robertson, and Abigail Van Zura. The Julie Bradshaw Award was established in memory of Julie, a graduate of 1980. It is given to the student who received the highest number of votes for the Golden Mitre. It is presented by the Dean of Student Affairs, Dr. Stina Linden Anderson. And Morgan, you better turn around and come back. This year it is awarded to Morgan Gagnon. The G. Howard Ferguson Cup and Chief Justice Greenshield's Prize is awarded to the student who, in the opinion and by the vote of the faculty, has made the greatest contribution to the life of the university. It will be presented by Dr. Adriana Mendrick, Chair of the Psychology Department, and the recipient, whose name has already been engraved on the cup, is Raluca Petria. Mr. Chancellor, Dr. Margaret McMillan, Dr. Alexander Rieford, members of the class of 2018, members of Convocation, families, and friends. Every year for 175 years, Bishops has celebrated this special day in the life of our university. The central role of the Chancellor, the academic dress, the Latin citations, and the other formalities of the Convocation proceedings remind us that the idea of the university as a community of learning dates back to the Middle Ages and has endured through the centuries. Like all great institutions, Bishops has evolved over the decades, as each generation has been charged with ensuring that the university meets the needs of its time. I think we can all take pride in knowing that although much has changed, Bishops continues to pursue its core mission of offering a sound and liberal education to undergraduate students. We remain focused on being an institution of choice for outstanding young people seeking academic excellence and a rich undergraduate experience. We strive to be a university that instills confidence, courage, curiosity, and a sense of responsibility in its students, to be a place that nurtures personal and intellectual freedom and fosters enduring friendships. This year has been one of progress and achievement, but it has also been marked by profound loss. While on a Reading Week vacation in the Dominican Republic with 30 Bishops' classmates, Ben Houtman died in a tragic fall. On March 14th, our community came together to celebrate Ben's life, to mourn, and to express to Ben's parents, Krista and John, that Ben was a much-loved member of the Bishops' community. Ben was a vibrant young man who reached out to anyone who felt excluded to make them feel welcome and included. He exemplified Bishops' values. He brought joy to life and to everyone around him. He is with us in spirit today, and may his memory be a blessing and may his life be an inspiration to everyone who knew him. At its meeting in May, our academic senate voted to bestow a posthumous degree on Ben. Ben's parents are extraordinary people who, in a time of excruciating grief, have focused on supporting Ben's friends, who in turn have expressed their love for them. We are honored to have Krista and John with us today, and I would like to ask them to come forward to receive Ben's diploma from the Chancellor. I think it was particularly appropriate that Josh should come up with Krista. Josh was Ben's best friend, and he had so many great friends, but I know that Josh and he were as close as two people can be. So thank you for being here, Josh. There is no easy segue from remembering a lost friend to celebrating his classmates. But his parents and his friends have said that Ben would want today to be a celebration. Life and Bishops must go on. We are proud that our graduating students consistently tell us that we've delivered on the promises we made to them when they chose Bishops. This year, several external assessments have confirmed that our students value highly their experiences here. In recent years, our students have ranked Bishops at the top for student satisfaction amongst Canada's small undergraduate universities in the annual Maclean's rankings. This year, for the first time, we were number one amongst all of Canada's universities, regardless of size. They probably don't need reminding, but I should remind our professors and our administrators and staff that students also rank them first in Canada. So all of that together contributed to Bishops being the most student-recommended university in the entire country. So we had a good year. Much of Bishops endures over time, our heritage buildings, our bucolic campus, and most importantly, our focus on a liberal education for undergraduates. But it is also true that each generation of students reinvents the university. And the class of 2018 has contributed to Bishops being an intellectually vibrant, ambitious, and caring community. J'étais vivement impressionné par les efforts de nos finissants afin que les valeurs fondatrices de notre université soient transmises à la prochaine génération d'étudiants qui, à leur tour, sauront les adopter et les transmettre. Ils ont demandé aux étudiants qui les suivent que les valeurs fondamentales qui sont la curiosité, la rigueur, le respect d'autrui, l'intégrité et l'engagement sont des valeurs sûres. Et ce faisant, ils ont marqué de façon positive leur université. Et grâce à nos étudiants et toute notre communauté universitaire, je pense que je peux dire que Bishops a eu une année exceptionnelle. Now, although we speak of the Bishops' bubble, we do not operate in isolation from the world beyond Lennoxville. We can't even get to the world beyond Lennoxville now that there's no bridge. Every year, we sponsor a refugee student. The university waives tuition for the first year and provides a room and residence. Our food service provider, Sodexo, contributes a free meal plan, and a committee of volunteers engages in fundraising to provide support for the students. The refugee sponsorship group held its annual garage sale just a few weeks ago. This great community effort raised over $8,000 for our refugee students. As the Chancellor noted, we have students from more than 50 countries enrolled at Bishops this year, so the world really does meet on our campus. The Donald Lecture Series also helped bring the world to Bishops. Dr. William Dershowitz, an author and former Yale University professor, began this year's lecture series with an insightful talk about the value of liberal education. He spoke particularly about the importance of fostering self-discovery and independent thinking in undergraduate education. Senator Murray Sinclair, who chaired the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, came to us via live stream from Thunder Bay, where he was finalizing his independent investigation of the Thunder Bay Police Board. Senator Sinclair helped us to understand better to better understand our history and how to chart a path forwards towards reconciliation with the Indigenous peoples of this land. Ms. Maggie McDonnell, a teacher in the Inuit village of Salouit, one of Quebec's northernmost communities, who won the $1 million 2017 Global Teacher Prize, delivered a very powerful and inspiring address about the challenges facing many young people in Inuit communities. She helped each of us understand how one person with determination and an open heart can help change the world. Our fourth Donald lecturer was the man in motion, Rick Hansen. He talked to us about his 4,000-kilometer journey around the world in a wheelchair and how it has served as a springboard for him to work to change attitudes and to advocate for the creation of accessible spaces to permit people with disabilities to contribute fully to society. As a result of Rick's talk, we are working with his foundation to have an accessibility review conducted on 3 of our buildings. Dr. Amal Alsana Al-Jouj, a Bedouin Palestinian Israeli, was our final lecturer. Dr. Al-Jouj was the first woman of her community to attend university, and at age 17 she founded the first Bedouin women's organization. Her inspiring and empowering lecture touched on her personal journey as a woman in a patriarchal society and the importance of social work as an academic discipline and profession. Now, the world not only came to Bishops this year, we went out to engage with it. Under the guidance of Dr. Sarah Myriam Martin-Brulé, a group of our students attended the Model United Nations in New York City. Our students, representing Jordan, received the Outstanding Delegation Award, which is granted to only 5% of the delegations. And one of our students, And one of our students was recognized for having presented the best of more than 200 papers that were submitted to the General Assembly. The 9th Annual Quebec University's English Undergraduate Conference took place here in March. It is the largest undergraduate research conference in the humanities in Canada. Students from 37 universities from across Canada and the United States participated. And Chloe Soucy, an English major who just crossed the stage a few minutes ago, was awarded the prestigious 3M National Student Fellowship. The 3M Fellowship honors up to 10 students at Canadian post-secondary institutions for their leadership. So it's really an exceptional recognition and honor. Bravo. Our BEST program has enabled a new group of students to pursue their diverse and ambitious dreams. Here is just a sample of what some of our students will be doing over the next few months. Interning in a lab at Oxford University to learn how to use brain imaging technologies for pain research. Performing in a play at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, the world's largest arts festival. Bravo. Collecting information on bird species as part of the breeding bird census at the Long Point Bird Observatory on Lake Erie. Interning with a clinical psychologist in Togo. Attending the Kadali Institute's Music Summer program in Hungary. So it's just fascinating to see the diversity of what our students undertake. Now, it is reassuring to see that our students are engaged in the world, because there's a fair amount to be alarmed about. We are experiencing a period of illiberal populism in many parts of the world, where we are witnessing a relentless attack on truth, science, journalism, and the ideals of altruism, integrity, trust, and human solidarity. And almost every day we are confronted with the difference between formal authority and moral authority. As Dov Seidman has said, leaders with moral authority trust people with the truth, however bright or dark. Leaders with moral authority are animated by values, especially humility and principles of probity. So they do the right things, especially when they are difficult or unpopular. And they enlist people in a noble purpose and onto journeys worthy of their dedication. We, together, need to advocate for, support, and exemplify moral leadership. So whether we are involved in a university, or if I may say so, with a public broadcaster, we have a responsibility to seek out and disseminate truth. So we are counting on the class of 2018 not to be passive bystanders, never to be silent or indifferent in the face of racism, discrimination, injustice, inequality, intimidation, or lies. Now, each of us will have our own stories about what made this year unique. Let me share 3 of mine with you. As we start each year, as our students know, I meet with the first-year students in Centennial Theatre, and I ask them to indicate where they're from. So when I asked at one point, is anyone from Central America, a student in the back raised her hand. So I asked her, where in Central America? She replied, Denver, Colorado. So I was somewhat reassured to know that we have an environmental studies and geography department at Bishop's. And then shortly, a few days afterwards, I was in the stands at a lacrosse game, and a first-year student came up to me and he said, Principal, I just want you to know that I feel that what I already love about Bishop's is that I feel safe to be myself. That's an enormous tribute to all of our students, to Morgan and to everyone who organizes our orientation week. That after just a few days on our campus, that one of our students was feeling that, and I think it is very much what we strive to be. My last story happened just last week, and it's the type of experience which is going to happen to all of our Bishop's grads throughout your lives. I'm certain of this. So I'm not a fisherman, I'm not an angler, but I was invited to learn about the work of the Nature Conservancy of Canada on a fishing trip in a large protected area just east of Montebello in Quebec. So about 4:30 in the morning, we were preparing to go out onto Lake Papineau, and we were told that we would be joined on the lake by a team of scientists from 4 universities who were studying lake trout. So we were 3 in our boat with a guide, and I was lucky enough to be the first person to land a fish. So our guide immediately contacted the scientists by walkie-talkie. They came over in their boat, and they proceeded to implant a battery and a sonar in my fish so that they will be able to follow it as it moves around the lake over the next 3 years. Now, one of the 5 people in their boat was a professor from the University of Wisconsin, and he was charged with recording when and where the fish was caught and who caught it. So just as I finished spelling my last name, a young man in the back of the boat says, "I thought that was him. He's my principal. He's going to be giving me my diploma next week." So if you can run into a Bishop's grad at 5 a.m. on a remote lake in western Quebec, I can pretty much assure you you're going to be running into Bishop's grads, throughout the world, throughout your lives. So keep wearing purple. It will serve you well. Now, I've told Jason Charlebois, who's graduating this afternoon with a degree in biodiversity and ecology, that if he wants to get his diploma, he'd better confirm my story that my fish was, So there isn't time to review all of the accomplishments of our diverse and multi-talented faculty, and it is perilous to single anyone out, but let me mention just a few to give you a bit of the flavor of the academic vitality of our university. Dr. Jamie Crooks of the Department of Philosophy published a new monograph entitled "We Find Ourselves Put to the Test, a reading of the Book of Job." Dr. Crooks explores the ways in which the Book of Job can help the reader gain a greater appreciation for personal loss and suffering. Dr. Sean Malley of the English Department published "Excavating the Future, Archaeology and Geopolitics in Contemporary North American Science Fiction and Television." His book draws links between science fiction representations and political conflicts. Dr. Heather Lawford of our Psychology Department has been awarded a Tier 2 Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council grant, more than $100,000 a year for the next 5 years. Her research focuses on youth engagement and youth development. Dr. David Webster, who we heard early on this morning, of the History Department, co-edited a collection of essays entitled "Flowers in the Wall, Truth and Reconciliation in Timor-Leste, Indonesia, and Melanesia." And Dr. Webster has recently been named an associate of the Wilson Institute of Canadian History. Dr. Chartrand from our Sociology Department conducts research on missing and murdered Indigenous women. In the past year, she appeared as an expert witness before the Commission, leading the national investigation on this devastating issue. And I could go on, but I think you get the gist. So it was a year of innovation and achievement. The Bishop's University Singers, some of whom you heard today, celebrated the 50th anniversary of the group with an ambitious season including 2 performances of J.S. Bach's B minor Mass at the Abbaye de Saint-Benoît-du-Lac and the Église François-Xavier de Bromont. And we developed a cross-country ski trail on our golf course. It's the only cross-country ski trail on a university campus in Canada to be certified by the Fédération Internationale de Ski. It was also a year in which we addressed some critical issues on our campus. We hired our first Indigenous Student Support and Community Liaison Officer, and we are working on a project to convert Divinity House into an Indigenous Meeting and Learning Center. We reached an agreement with the Quebec government which will rectify the chronic underfunding of the university. The enhanced funding means that we can move now from being preoccupied as we have been with our survival to focusing on how we can sustain excellence. And last year, we launched a campaign to prevent sexual violence, including bystander intervention training, which was given to the entire incoming class. And then, as all of our students know, we had 2 incidents of sexual assault, not on our campus, but in the town of Lennoxville. And I was just extraordinarily impressed at how our community rallied together to ensure everyone's safety. Now, we are a public university, and our finances are in large measure dependent on government funding. But private philanthropy has always been, and will continue to be, a key factor in Bishop's capacity to achieve its high ambitions. In March, we completed the most successful capital campaign in our history. Under the dynamic leadership of Daniel Fournier and this year's Alumnus of the Year, Tim Griffin, we blew past our goal of $30 million and went almost 50% over target by raising $44 million. So the funds raised will help preserve the bishops that we cherish: the small classes, its residential character, the regular formal and informal contact between students and professors, and the life-changing experiences that make this place so special. We raised several millions of dollars for financial support for students. The Donald Lecture Series and the Best Student Grant Program have been endowed and will be permanent features of our university forever. Philanthropy with government support will allow us to renovate our science labs, the new side residences, and portions of the Hamilton building. Now, again, as all of our students know, we are on the verge of completing a $17 million renovation of the library. I recognize that it's bittersweet for our graduating class to see that the new library and learning commons is nearing completion and will open virtually weeks after you leave. But we are enormously grateful to you for joining the students from other classes in donating more than $1 million to this project. One of the most powerful messages of your gift is that our students have wanted to support future generations of Bishop students. In current parlance, you have paid it forward. Now, I know you won't be here to benefit from the renovated library, but as with the alumni who have preceded you, you have wanted to support the next generation of Bishop students, and we are enormously grateful to you. So individually and collectively, the class of 2018 consistently responded to the needs of people less fortunate than themselves here in Sherbrooke and around the world. Whether it was research funds for ALS or supporting a local mental health organization, or raising funds for our refugee students, which has been the primary focus of the class of 2018. Our students have given of their time, their energy, and their resources to help each other. So we owe a debt of gratitude to the class of 2018 for how they have cared for each other, for this institution, and for the world. And so I'd like to ask the class of 2018 to rise together so that we can express our gratitude to them, not for what they achieved individually, but for what they have contributed collectively to bishops. Please. Okay, you can sit. Yeah, you can sit. Thank you. You can sit down. You know, as I look out at you, I'm reminded that it was late on a September night, only a few years ago, that many of you stood together on the lawn in front of the principal's residence, singing at the top of your lungs that you were conditioned to your fate, that you would never graduate and you would stay here forevermore. Well, fortunately, you were wrong about never graduating, but I suspect that you were right when you sang the line that college days will linger ever in our hearts. You will certainly linger in ours. And perhaps the words about never graduating were not meant to be taken literally. Perhaps never graduating means never losing your sense of curiosity and your joy in learning. Perhaps never graduating means never ceasing to respect and value people who are different than you. Perhaps never graduating means never being afraid to take risks in pursuit of your dreams. Vous avez fait honneur à votre université, à vos familles et surtout à vous-même. C'est donc avec une grande fierté, mêlée d'un peu de tristesse, que nous vous disons au revoir. You have done your university, your families, and yourselves proud. It is with a bittersweet feeling that we bid you adieu. We do so, however, with the confidence that you leave here ready and determined to choose your own paths, to further the boundaries of knowledge, to care for our planet, and to do your part in the never-ending quest to advance peace, justice, equality, and prosperity in the world. Nous suivrons vos réalisations avec grand intérêt. It will be exciting to watch you. Congratulations for all you have achieved. Thank you for all you have contributed. So celebrate together tonight. I know that you're experienced and good at that. And then go out and use the knowledge and skills you've acquired at Bishop's to make the better world you believe in. Congratulations.
Before closing the convocation, I'd like to add one item to the principal's report on progress this year. Excuse me. Last month, the board announced that the principal's term of office had been extended for a further 5 years. He will continue with broad support from all segments of the Bishop's community. We're very grateful for his leadership and his humanity, and for his and Fiona's commitment to Bishop's. I declare this convocation of Bishop's University to be closed. I invite everyone to a reception upstairs in the mezzanine and on the TD Terrace immediately following the singing of the national anthem. Please remain in your seats following the singing of the anthem until the academic procession and graduating students have withdrawn. Now please rise and join me in the singing of our national anthem, which will be led by Nathalie Demont.
Oh
Please be seated while the academic procession and the graduating students depart.